Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing.
We've got everybody, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Desiree, you're set?
Yes, I'm set. Thank you.
So it's the planning board meeting for the February 24th for the continuation of the Overton application. The complete planning board is here this evening, along with Chris Round and Mr. Richmond. And if you could just update us on what has happened since the last time we were all together. And then the purpose is to approve an additional extension so that the applicant can continue to complete the outstanding pieces on its subdivision application.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. When we were last before you, we were awaiting DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, action on the various permit applications we have to it, including primarily the incidental take permit application in connection with the timber rattlesnakes. Since we appeared before you, we received a notice of complete application from the department that was published. So that was made available for public notice. And we were advised this afternoon by the Department of Environmental Conservation that no comments were received during that time, and we can expect a permit from them. That's
so will you need to do any additional, the permit triggers the additional studies, or no additional studies are needed, or?
Well, there's there's a particular study that's mandated by our application, has to do with the timber rattlesnake travel patterns. I think it would be best way to describe it. That was, again, that was part of the mitigation we were offering in connection with the incidental take permit. But that's not required. We don't have to do that before the permit is issued. The permit, again, now that the comment period is over, no comments being received, the department has indicated they will start preparing the permit.
Okay. And the travel study is anticipated to take place this spring, or I'm not sure whether it's spring or summer that you undertake it in.
Chris, do you know? I don't know.
Yeah, that is our target. It's written into the permit condition, and provided we get it in time, we'll be able to coordinate that and make that happen.
And you coordinate that with the village as well, that.
Yeah, well, because there is, you'll see a physical presence, and when we'll coordinate that and make sure everybody is aware of what's happening and when it's happening.
And anything else outstanding?
I think there are just a couple of easements and, that we're trying to finalize, and we're working with Rick and Ashley to do that. And I think, I know we spoke, I think either at your last meeting or prior meeting, I know the board wants a final opportunity to make sure everything is in order, which is really why we're requesting this extension. I am hopeful we can get this done in relatively short order, but I think, in my mind, I think we're there.
Okay. So we can do a 90-day extension. Is that correct, Rick?
Yes, and as is your practice, you pick a date for a normal meeting as the end date that's closest to that without going over. So that would be your May 12th, 2021 meeting.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to, any questions anybody has, anything else we need to discuss before making a motion to approve an extension of the Overton subdivision application?
I just have one issue, Joanne. We
Okay.
are putting together an accounting of the professional review fees. We are a little tardy in doing that, but we should have something out by early next week.
Okay, I'm assuming, again, when, before, I think the next step in my mind, I don't know if you anticipate us, again, we just have some final conditions, I think, to, in my mind, review with your consultants and Rick and Ashley. Are you anticipating we appear back before your board, or is the next step for signature, but again, I assume consulting fees would be something you would be asking for prior to signature.
Yes, I think John is just saying that they haven't been attended to in a little while, and so they'll get that out so that they can be paid. The next thing is for Joanne to receive from us and from Bonnie and from Carl a letter saying that we believe in each of our disciplines that the subdivision plat is ready to be filed. And then she will go ahead and physically sign the plat, and then you'll be able to go ahead and get it filed.
Okay, great.
And just so, I know that Dan is well aware of this, but just so that the board is well aware, with respect to subdivision plats, there's a requirement in state county law that says that once Joanne signs the plat, they have to be filed within, I think it's 60 or 62 days.
60.
And if that doesn't happen, it has to go back to the planning board to get signed again, so that it's not sitting out there stale. But I know that Dan is well aware of that, but I just wanted the board to be aware of that, so they understood that within 60 days of the signing by Joanne, these will be filed in the county, and the subdivision then will be legal. And the tax parcels will be chopped up by the county and given tax numbers. And that will show up for the village for tax purposes at that point. So
And
We-
the,
we have from our point of-
the village discussion of remediation vis-a-vis the DEC goes on independently of the finalization of the subdivision process.
I have to look at the condition again to see how that particular one was worded, as to whether or not we have to have a final agreement on that prior to the signing of the plans, or whether that was prior to building permit. I'd have to look at that again. I don't have
I
it in
think
front of me.
we already, as I recall, I think we already got what we needed from the village board in connection with the filing of the plat, but I do know we need to, and Chris and I have been talking, and I think, Chris, you've been working with Carl Stone on this, is
Right.
identifying particular areas where I infiltration and inflow mitigation can be made at an adequate rate for the village. I
Yeah,
don't know if you want to speak to that, Chris.
Sure, and I think what Rick's referring to is the condition with respect to DEC is was not issuance of the permit or satisfaction of any mitigation in advance of signature. It was acceptance of the resource protection area, and the permit will do that. Will acknowledge that, and then post filing, there are additional conditions to be met before we can undertake any construction activities, before we can pull a building permit. There's a whole host of those things. The one outstanding issue Dan is referring to in advance of signature is just this clarity on the form and description for the utility easements. Carl made one comment last week that we're addressing. It was just the meets and bounds needed to be revised, and we're going to get that in his hands, and then hopefully he'll have that back to you all to say, hey, yeah, we've satisfied all his concerns.
I brought up the last, the signed version of the resolution of approval of August 12th.
Yep.
It was filed. And in special condition number 5, it says no building permit shall be issued unless and until the applicant obtains all necessary approvals from outside agencies, including but not limited to several of them, including the incidental take permit, but also one of them was the DEC approval of I&I offset mitigation.
Right.
So in answer to your question, Joanne, that that issue has to be resolved with the village, but really it's more getting it resolved with the DEC, that the DEC is going to agree that if a certain amount of work is done, that will satisfy them in order to allow their moratorium not to take effect. And
Right,
so
but
has to be
that
done
is,
before the building permit,
Building
not
permit.
before
Building.
plan signing.
okay. I just wanted to check on the sequence of it. That was my understanding,
Right.
but
That's an important point.
confirming on that. All right, could I have a motion to extend the Overton subdivision application?
So moved.
And Portia seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
Well, it's rare that we are quite so short and sweet. I hope everyone stays well. It was a little warmer out today, perhaps like Josh's cherry trees, spring will arrive.
Let's hope so.
Take
Yes,
care, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
Very much, Madam
the
Chair. Thank
next
you very much.
meeting will be the PAYS application. Can I have a motion to conclude the planning board meeting?
Move.
On favor, second? So good evening, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Take care.